Hello and welcome back to the Formula 1 chat. Today we will be discussing Mercedes and more importantly why they have fallen off this season. We'll be discussing the rapid rise of Mercedes obviously since the team was bought in 2010, and then we'll also be discussing the fall in the last 2 years since the regulations. So Mercedes, history in Formula 1 starts in the 1950s, of course, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's a long time ago. I mean, obviously, that wasn't the current team. That was the old team.
No, so Mercedes-Benz obviously entered the championship in 1954 and 55 and won both those championships with Juan Manuel Fangio, of course. And Mercedes had a history. They flirted in and out of Formula 1. They were a manufacturer throughout some of the early 2000s. Eventually then bought a team again for the first time since the 50s in 2010. And that team is quite a lot more famous.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I think you could argue they did win some things. I mean, 8 constructors championships is pretty good.
They really do have a legacy of success then, because they've entered. If you count the 2 championships from the 50s, they won both of them.
Yeah.
54 and 55, and then just pulled out, and then
actually do just win it and pull out
and then leave, and then since 2010 they've won 8 constructors championships, 7 drivers championships, just complete dominance. It's been, a real change for Formula 1. Obviously, you get these dominant periods, but it's rare to see a team come in and immediately dominate, and in the way they have. No one's been able to challenge Mercedes. So, look at teams like Red Bull. They've had periods of dominance, but they did have 4 years where they didn't do anything. From when the team were bought in 2006. Mercedes, it only took 2 years for them to get going before they then took 8 constructors championships consecutively.
Yeah. I mean, drivers as well. 7 for Hamilton, 1 for Rosberg.
6 for Hamilton, 1 for Rosberg.
6 Hamilton?
Yeah, he's won his first one in 2007 with Mercedes. With the McLaren, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, 6 for Hamilton, 1 for
2008.
Rosberg.
Yeah, 2008.
Since Hamilton joined Mercedes, his only competitor was his teammate.
Well, yeah, exactly. 2019, Vettel ran him close. Yeah. Well, the closest of anyone, really, until 2021. So, yeah, complete dominance. I think 2020 was the year that really showed how ridiculously good Mercedes were. Yeah. I just seem to remember them. It was obviously that lockdown sort of period, and they just won every race.
Black Mercedes in 2020 it was
a beast.
Zoomed off. It was miles ahead of everyone.
Even Bottas looked sensational.
I think the fact that Max won the what do they call it? Was it the anniversary Grand Prix or something like that?
Yeah,
you had 2 British Grand Prix. 50th British Grand Prix.
50th anniversary.
The fact that Max managed to win that with that lightning bolt Merc.
Yeah.
That Mercedes also did win on 3 tyres at one point, so it was pretty quick.
Yeah, certainly was. But yeah, so we've discussed Mercedes. The rapid rise. Obviously, so they had their first 2 years with Rosberg and Schumacher. Then in came Lewis Hamilton. In came the new regulations in 2014.
Yeah,
2014, and then they absolutely smashed it, didn't they?
It was a silver bullet. Really.
Yeah, we got all the silver arrows. Exactly. They very much were the silver bullet.
Just zoom off 40 seconds up the road and then just coast.
Yeah, and they were rapid throughout the last decade. But going into this new decade, then 2021, their cars still looked the fastest. But they didn't claim the drivers. That was a first sign of a little bit of a slip of Mercedes' dominance. I feel if Checo had a couple more points, they could have lost the constructors as well. So quite fortunate not to lose out on that.
That is the thing. Yes, Red Bull were quick, but I think just because it shows the only drivers that haven't, outside of Mercedes, that have challenged Hamilton were Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen. Yeah. It takes a very certain kind of driver.
A very special driver.
Obviously, Vettel went in close, Verstappen beat him.
Yeah, but it was the first crack in Mercedes' armour. Then obviously we saw them barely lose a race for 8 years, and then suddenly they lost the Drivers' Championship. And coming into the new regulations in 2022, a lot of people thought they'd have a point to prove. They did have a point to prove. It didn't exactly work, did it? They in fact proved the opposite.
But I think
was
the
true.
big thing for me, and you talk about the first cracks appearing, you could tell it was a big one as well, because the way that Mercedes reacted, that last race, even like Toto was throwing his headset around.
They're not used to not getting their. They're not used to not getting their own way. So
the first time they were beaten, they did everything in their power to try and make sure they won.
Obviously, you can understand the frustration there. It's a situation that.
Yeah.
I can understand why you feel that it was unjust.
But there's 2 ways to go about it. You can throw your toys out the pram, make a song and dance about it. and throw allegations left, right, and centre, or you just take it on the chin.
But this is the thing, I'd love to see every other F1 team principal in the same situation and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because, mate, Gunter...
I think equally, Horner would probably do the same.
Oh, Horner would be much worse.
Oh, yeah.
Horner would be fuming. He'd be, kicking off. But he'd probably get Jerry to make a song about it.
Yeah, probably.
That'd be brilliant. But
A revenge song of Toto Wolff.
diss
That is
track.
something I need to
Mate,
see.
when Christian Horner was a diss track on Toto, that is going to go off. But, yeah, so the regulations hurt them going into 2022. That was when Red Bull dominated. Max Verstappen claimed 17. Red Bull claimed 17 out of 20.
That car was
races.
like a trampoline. It was awful.
Oh, right, not the Red Bull. But
No, the Mercedes of 2022 just
yeah, they didn't get the porpoising right. There's not a lot they did get right, and they've stuck with this zero pod
yeah
sort of design.
It's
It
really weird.
doesn't seem to
But
work.
with the porpoising, this obviously came out in the Netflix thing, and where Horner tells him he's got a problem to change his fucking car.
And then Toto responded by saying, "I've got them printed out." That was so good.
Print out your team radio.
Why are you printing them off? I don't know, but I love it.
Also shows a bit of stubbornness from Wolff there. That he'd rather put his drivers in danger to remain quick.
I think every team does. You have to remain competitive, especially a team like Mercedes.
Yeah, but then you can't say it's dangerous if you're refusing to change it.
He was trying to get everyone else to change their cars to sort it out. Yeah, but I thought, obviously the regulations they didn't do well. The car didn't look quick, weren't competitive. It sort of stayed the same going into this new season. First round of the 2023 season in Bahrain. I mean, they didn't look quick at all.
No,
I feel Aston Martin looked quicker.
Also, they got their pads pulled down.
If Ferrari can stop just exploding halfway through a race, that would be useful.
That would probably help.
And I mean, I don't even put them in the same conversation as Red Bull anymore.
No.
Because there was a 50-second gap between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton or something ridiculous
it was
like
a 50-second gap between Verstappen and Sainz.
Right, and then Sainz was... No, Alonso got third, though.
Oh, yeah.
So to Alonso, and then a gap to Sainz, and then
Yeah.
a little bit of a gap to Lewis. So,
But, I mean, you can tell Mercedes fans aren't happy with the car. Hamilton's not happy with the car. He's already said that he told the team at the end of last season the car wasn't good enough.
yeah, this
and
is
they haven't
the
delivered.
problem, isn't it? So, points then, strange design. Why are they sticking with the zero pod? Is it that they're just
know.
stubborn in the ways, or do they see something that they like with the zero pod?
Maybe. I have no clue.
Concept.
But you look at Aston. They've just built a green Red Bull.
I mean, did you see the Checo Perez quote in the driver conferences after? They asked Checo what he thought of the race, and he said, "Oh, nice to see 3 Red Bull cars on the podium."
Yeah.
And that made
It's
all of them laugh.
It's just, that's what you got to do, though. You got to come with the best teams.
I mean, it helps. You just go and get Dan Fallows and say, do what you did there. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, that were quick. But, yeah.
But you think at least like Merck might read Adrian New's book to try and learn
He has released a book to help other engineers. But, yeah, I don't know why they stuck with the zero pod. You don't have to copy other teams, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Why do you stick with it?
But it's interesting. I mean, if we saw again, not to mention Drive to Survive too much, but we saw how all the other drivers were laughing at Russell's car because they're like, "What is that?" And
but
it doesn't look like a Formula One car.
But I think the one thing for me is where does the blame lie? Because Toto Wolff has pointed fingers at everyone else but himself.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, isn't it? Does any blame lie with Toto? I don't know if it does. I don't think he's done anything wrong. Strategy, they've still done as best as they can. He's kept the drivers motivated despite the fact the car isn't that strong.
He's done his best to play the F1 game of chess and try and say things that are going to put people off, or try and just.
And he's been in the printing room a lot.
Yeah, he's printing off a lot of team radios.
Every single driver.
I mean, obviously he's threatened the aerodynamicist.
Mike Elliott, the head of aerodynamics, he said that this needs to improve. He's reportedly giving him an ultimatum. I don't think they'll sack Mike Elliott if the car doesn't win a race this year, but it creates an interesting question, doesn't it? If your aero team is just so stubborn this is going to work, do they have to make changes?
I mean, also, it'd be interesting what's going to happen in Saudi, because I look at last year and go, they started off terribly, but towards the end they got quicker, they won a race, and I thought going into 2023 they might be back.
I think that race win was more from complacency from other teams. Yeah. I think if Red Bull still had something to fight for, then they would have been able to answer.
Ferrari, they blow up.
Probably it's Ferrari.
Yeah, one of them might have.
But at some point of the weekend, one of them definitely blew up. It's Ferrari, but Yeah, so Toto's made some interesting statements. We saw in the press the other day, he was saying, things like radical change. He wants a complete overhaul of the team. But is that what's needed? Or is it just that some simple fixes, a new season, a new car could help? But that's what they were hoping for this year. It's not worked, evidently.
I think that's wrong. You've got to deliver a good car because if you don't, your drivers aren't going to be happy, your superiors aren't going to be happy, and that'll be the problem with Toto. He will know that if he doesn't start delivering, he's going to have people, breathing down his neck. Well, people will kick him out.
No one's going to kick Toto Wolff out.
Well, someone's got to kick him out.
Toto owns the team.
Oh yes, the problem isn't it? He's not,
that's why he cares, isn't it?
That's the problem. He just could be there.
There is no superiors. He is superior.
What, every other team, obviously,
they're owned by the parent company. Like Lawrence Stroll doesn't make the choices. If not, that'd be horrific.
God.
Lance just win, mate, and then sorted. We're not going to change the tyres.
Fernando, you're going to bin it so Lance can win.
Yeah, okay, give us a safety car. But yeah, so Toto. There's a lot in it for Toto.
There is.
Obviously.
There is. It's
his
life.
Brand, it's his team.
It is him.
Could you see Toto moving to a more management position, or do you think he loves being hands-on?
No, he loves being hands-on. Secretly, him and Horner love going head-to-head and locking horns.
I think they do. Not that they are at the moment.
Oh, God, no. They're like a minute
disparity, but... Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel that Mercedes have to deliver.
But is it radical change that's necessary?
Just build a new car.
So that is quite radical. Change your fucking car.
Yeah, exactly. But this is what I don't understand with Mercedes. If it doesn't work, why do you stick with it?
Yeah.
Because if anything in life, if it doesn't work, you're going to change it. You just keep doing it and hope it works.
That's a definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting something to change.
Are Mercedes insane?
Are Mercedes stuck with their current problems until 2026? Is it that Red Bull have such an advantage in the regulations and that Ferrari have an advantage and that Aston have an advantage that Mercedes aren't competitive?
But I guess for now we have to look at it and go, if they don't deliver, what's going to happen next?
Yeah. Well, we know change can happen, and we'll get on to sort of what could happen next in a moment, but we know change can happen because we saw it from Aston Martin. They gained 5 tenths from the start of last season to the end of last season, and then over the winter, they've suddenly found a second.
But again, they changed their car.
They changed it every time. Yeah.
And I think that is where the majority. That's the thing. In a racing series, if you are failing, it is probably the car.
And it's not like Mercedes are short on resource. They're not like Williams, and they're going, let's get some random American bloke to drive it this year. They've got money.
That's a random dig at Logan Sargent.
Sorry, Logan, if you're watching. But yeah, they've got the resource. They can change the car. Be interested to see what happens.
They've got more wind tunnel hours than Ferrari and Red Bull. They have so much. Look what Aston did with their extra wind tunnel hours. Yeah, they've built a new car. They've got to change their car.
Yeah. But 2 closing questions then. And these might take a little while. I don't know if this will be the end. But can Mercedes win a race this season? No. Oh, why not?
No. Because you have Red Bull, then you have Ferrari, then you have Aston. As the 3 teams that will win a race this season. And then if those 3 teams fail, I don't think it would be much to pick up the pieces. My money would be on an Alpine. They've got 2 proven race winners. We're either going to see one of the top 3 teams win, or we'll have another crazy race where a midfield car picks up the points.
I could see Mercedes win a race this season.
Where?
I don't know. If Russia was on the grid, they'd be guaranteed. But
it wasn't. That's Bottas.
Bottas loves Russia, but yeah,
that's the Russian circuit.
Not the country. Yeah. But Mercedes, I think they can win a race this season because they are still a brilliant team. There's still 2 fantastic drivers. I'd argue they've got the 2nd best lineup on the grid.
Ooh.
Behind Ferrari, I would say.
And Red Bull? Really?
Probably, yeah. I like Checo a lot, but I don't know if he's as good as George.
But I'd say Max
it's
is
close.
better than Lewis.
Maybe last season I'd have said Red Bull. Red Bull behind. Maybe this season Red Bull ahead. Yeah. Checo does look quite decent now, but yeah.
I see your point, but
they've got an incredibly strong lineup.
That's the thing.
It's a team that know how to win.
Exactly.
That's an important fact.
They have personnel that know how to win Constructors' Championship.
I think if they're in the position to win, they'll see it over the line.
Yeah.
And I think they could get in that position. All it takes is Ferrari to be a little bit explosive, Max and Fernando to have a bit of a scrap. They're both quite aggressive drivers.
That's saying Hamilton's...
Checo to be off the pace at one weekend, I don't see that as unfathomable.
Hamilton has proven over the last 2 years that when he battles with Max and or Alonso, he doesn't cope. He ends up punting them off, or something. They end up colliding. Obviously 2021, everyone knows what happened then. The amount of times those two came together. But even I look at Belgium last year, where Hamilton and Alonso came together. Who did Hamilton come together with? Spain as well.
Not Nico. K-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Clipped him. But Fernando Alonso literally said this guy can't race.
When he's not
he's used to being at the front. But obviously Lewis Hamilton has good racecraft.
Is there a little bit of truth to that?
I think there is, yeah. Definite that obviously if you aren't used to racing side by side, you may forget a few things. But also, every single driver that's won the championship takes the rules to the limit.
Yeah, I guess he's just not used to it.
No, I think he is a very good driver. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton, the greatest driver of all time, probably.
Yeah, probably.
So
that's probably
yeah.
Bloke who's won 7 drivers' championships.
He's probably all right at driving a car, but yeah, I don't think. I don't know where I'm going.
Just while we're on Mercedes, do you think Red Bull could outdo Mercedes?
What, win 9 constructors in a row?
In terms of constructors and drivers.
If there wasn't a 2026 engine regulations, I'd say yes. But with the new regs in 26, you don't know what's going to happen.
I guess from 2014, there was an 8-year difference. There was 8 years there.
Until they did something.
Until they did something. And Merck won all of those 8 years.
Exactly. So I think Red Bull will likely win everything until 26, but after 26, Aston will have their new factory.
Yeah.
Potentially, they could manufacture their own engine rather than buying off Merck.
Could Merck come back in 2026?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think you'll have Aston do well. Ferrari will be keen to actually get on top again. Aston Martin.
They say it every year. Ferrari will be back this year. They're not.
Another curveball is Audi join in 2026.
Yeah.
I see no reason they can't come in and do what Braun did. Or what Mercedes did. They've got the resource.
I think
they're probably going to bring 2 talented drivers.
You also look at teams. You look at McLaren. Yes, they're not great right now, but if they can deliver a good car, they've got 2 very quick drivers.
Yeah, I just don't see McLaren delivering a really quick car.
I think Williams are on the rise.
They are, but someone's got to be at the bottom.
AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Haas.
Well, if AlphaTauri get bought as well, there's loads of manufacturers linked to purchasing them. So,
but we know Mercedes, because they have that winning pedigree, if there is change, they usually deal with it quite well.
And between now and then, you'd imagine they'll sack their design team.
Probably.
The head of aeros and not go
still as bad as they are now. They would probably have some change.
So then the bigger question for Mercedes. Now you imagine Toto's not going anywhere, obviously. You imagine George is more than happy just to stick around for now and see it out. But the bigger question is Lewis Hamilton. Contract expires at the end of the season, linked with a move to Ferrari. Firstly, could you see Lewis in Ferrari colours next season?
I could, and the reason I could would be that he wants that 8th title. To say that he is the best. Because obviously at the moment he's tied with Schumacher.
Yeah.
If he can get that 8th, there's not really a debate, is there? If he's to work for...
Do you reckon Ferrari would take him?
Sainz hasn't performed that great. But the only problem would be how...
I think Sainz has done well.
Yeah, that's the thing. A, would they take him? And then B, how would the dynamic work? Because both of them aren't going to want to be second driver.
Well, this would be my thing. Could we see Charles Leclerc leave?
Then does Leclerc go to
Mercedes? Does he go the other way? Does he back that Mercedes project?
But that's the problem. He's backed the Ferrari project for so long, it's just not gone anywhere.
I could see Carlos going to Audi. Working under Seidel again. We know they got on well at McLaren. Yeah. You'd have the potential of them being the quickest in 2026. You'd have to put up with Alfa Romeo for 2 years. But they don't look a horrific car. But I scored 8 points.
But I do...
Could be worth the gamble.
Wow.
Not 8 points.
But yeah.
Not even... finished 8th. 4 points.
Yeah. But I think... I could see it happen. A lot of change could happen. It will happen. Yeah. And there is a high likelihood that Lewis will leave. Whether that's Ferrari...
If they don't build a better car.
Ferrari,
this is the problem. I don't see Lewis going anywhere else. He's not going Red Bull. As funny as that would
Aston won't
be.
Him and Alonso would not get on unless he loves.
They're not bidding off Lance, are they? So unless you're going to have 3 cars on the grid, I can't see him going Aston.
Sorted for the next few years.
Yeah,
and he's not going to go to.
But also, I don't see them being an upgrade on Mercedes currently. Obviously, it could be, but
Could he return to McLaren if Lando went Red Bull or Lando goes Merc?
The only reason Lewis would stay in Formula 1 is if he has a chance at that eighth championship. But if he doesn't, what's the point for him?
Exactly.
Could Lewis retire? Could Lewis leave Formula 1 at the end of this season?
But would he want to leave on a high?
He would, but what if he can't?
True.
What if he looks at it and goes, there's no seat available at Ferrari.
This year's been
There's
rubbish.
no seat available at Red Bull. Mercedes have no sign of being better next season. What is the point? I'm going to sign another 2-year contract, stay until 24 and achieve nothing. Because we're not. I can't see Mercedes winning a championship between now and 2026.
It's a good point. And it's going to be interesting. George Russell's going nowhere. He's just bland. He's just...
All right, okay. I don't think George will leave, but yeah, I think they're more safe with George, especially since his contract doesn't expire at the end of this season. So if he was to leave, someone would have to buy him out. But with Lewis leaving at the end of the season, currently there's no.
But also, you can
talk of him re-signing.
George being new to the team, you can tell the different reactions. Hamilton's not as well done, guys. We'll go again next week, as he used to be. You know, he's coming out complaining about the car, complaining about the team. Russell's now like, we'll go again next week, guys. Good effort, there. Hurrah, teamwork.
So on the topic of if Lewis was to leave, we've discussed where he would go, but what would Mercedes do? How do they replace Lewis Hamilton?
My call would be Lando Norris, especially McLaren are still as crap as they are at the moment.
But is there a potential that Lando isn't at McLaren anymore? If Lewis was to stay another year, could they actually lose out on Lando? Could Red Bull?
I mean, the only other thing
is
Lando 2 years' time. What if Logan Sargent tears it up at Williams?
What are you waffling about? I'm
just saying. No, but you look what George Russell did.
For Mercedes now, if they keep Lewis, they're probably going to have an aging driver in a car that's uncompetitive for 2 years. They're not going to win anything. I don't think they're going to win any championships. No. So does it not make more sense to let him leave at the end of the season, bring in a young driver rather than potentially letting Lando get poached by someone like Red Bull?
That's a good point.
There's a lot to think about if you're Toto Wolff at the moment, because as much as you'll go, it's Lewis bloody Hamilton, mate. I think there's still a lot of this season to see.
There are a lot.
If they can get within 2-3 tenths of Red Bull come the end of the season, if they change up their car a little bit, you imagine they'll have upgrades.
Again, it comes back to what we said: change your fucking car.
Yeah, fair enough. If they do make changes, then we could see Lewis staying if they know they can fight for a championship next season. But it's going to be very interesting to see how it unfolds. We'll be keeping up to date with all the Mercedes situations, so make sure to subscribe, and our videos will then fill your notifications subscriber box with our brilliant content. But yes, that is all from us today. Keep the conversation going in the comments below. We want to hear from you guys. What do you think of Mercedes fall this season? 1, can they recover it? And 2, will Lewis Hamilton stay at Mercedes if they don't manage to build a car that's actually competitive? But yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.